And it's not a knock, it's just how he plays in that spread wide open offense, and you project that to a spread wide open field. Yes, the arm may not be as strong.
I can't imagine there's many people that think Dillon Gabriel's a better quarterback than Shedeur Sanders. I don't care where they were drafted. And if the Browns are the one team that thinks that, then I'm going to suspect it's not true.
I never root against anybody.
Yeah.
But I'd be surprised if Dillon Gabriel's ever a legitimate starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. I'd be surprised. I just don't think.
Big news coming out of Cleveland. The competition for the starting quarterback spot is getting intense. Right now, it looks like Shedeur Sanders is pulling ahead in the race for QB1, while Dillon Gabriel is starting to raise concerns about whether he can hold onto the job. Gabriel was brought in for his size and physical presence, but things haven't been going his way. His arm strength and overall throwing performance during training camp have been underwhelming. In contrast, Sanders has been consistently outperforming him on the field. At this point, Shedeur Sanders seems to be on track to take over as Cleveland's starting quarterback. This shift could have big implications for the team moving forward. Initially, Gabriel was drafted before Sanders and was widely seen as the likely pick for the top quarterback spot. But there's been one major issue that keeps coming up: his height. At just 5'11", Gabriel's size has become a real concern, especially in a league where physical stature can make a big difference. Throughout training camp, Gabriel has had a tough time making long throws with the kind of ease people expected from him. In a position that demands both power and precision, that's a tough weakness to overcome. Meanwhile, Sanders has continued to turn heads with his ability to deliver accurate deep passes, using his long limbs and natural throwing ability to his advantage. It's become clear that Sanders has taken control of the QB battle during camp, while Gabriel has struggled, particularly when facing pressure or a crowded pocket. That's now led to a lot of talk from analysts, who are wondering if Gabriel's lack of arm strength and ability to perform under pressure might be too big of a hurdle for him to succeed in the NFL. The big question now: how can a quarterback with such a serious gap in his game expect to survive, let alone thrive, in one of the most competitive football leagues on the planet?
Gets the ball out, he's accurate. As far as how does that translate to the National Football League, I just don't see it. I don't know why. I'm sure he's a great kid, he plays his ass off, he's a winner, but when I watch him on tape, nothing really excites me about his game other than the fact that he's pretty accurate, got a quick arm.
Dillon Gabriel's struggles became pretty obvious during OTAs and minicamps, where some key issues in his game started to show. One particular rep stood out. He looked noticeably worried about defensive linemen swatting down his passes at the line of scrimmage. That concern led him to start releasing the ball a bit higher than usual, and it threw things off. Some of his passes ended up sailing over his receivers' heads, while others got tipped right at the line. It's definitely something he'll need to work on if he wants to seriously compete at the pro level.
Dillon Gabriel raises a lot of eyebrows of concern. As you guys know, he had a ball batted down today, and it turned into an interception, pick six. And you guys can see right here, this was a cause of concern coming into the draft when it pertained to Dillon Gabriel, is how, his smaller frame. You guys seen it with the Johnny Manziels. Just kind of with those guys, the smaller frames, getting balls batted down to the line, ultimately turns into interceptions.
That being said, both Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders have things they need to work on. Neither of them is flawless, and the quarterback competition is still very much alive. Sanders has shown more consistency throughout camp, but nothing is set in stone just yet. Both quarterbacks are still in the running, and the battle is only getting more intense. While Gabriel was having his share of mistakes, Sanders was out there dropping dimes during practice. His throws were on point, showing off some serious precision and smart decision-making. One play in particular stood out. He connected with his tight end on a corner route near the back pylon. It was a tight window, with a linebacker trailing, and the receiver pressed at the line. But Sanders placed the ball perfectly. It was a textbook read. As soon as the safety bit on the short route, Sanders quickly recognized the one-on-one coverage and took the deep shot without hesitation. That kind of situational awareness, paired with his accuracy, is what's giving him the edge right now. There's even been some chatter that Cleveland may have picked up Dillon Gabriel just to block another team from grabbing Sanders. According to reports, owner Jimmy Haslam was very interested in bringing Shedeur on board, but not everyone on the coaching staff was sold at the time. Regardless of those early disagreements, Sanders is proving himself where it matters, on the field, showing that he's ready to compete at the highest level.
There's a lot of speculation. He wanted Shedeur Sanders. The staff drafted Dillon Gabriel, Oregon, 2 rounds earlier. And they were doing that not because they necessarily loved Dillon Gabriel, they liked him, but they thought it would stop their impulsive owner from forcing them to draft in round 4 Shedeur Sanders.
One thing that's really helped Shedeur Sanders stand out is how well he communicates on the field and takes charge of his teammates. His leadership and calm under pressure have pushed aside any lingering doubts about his potential, and he's steadily climbing to the top of the QB competition. The progress he's made in such a short span is making the coaching staff take a second look at their original plans. At this point, it's becoming clear that Sanders is making a serious case to be the future face of the Cleveland Browns. But it's not just the coaches he's winning over. Fans are fully backing him too. Across all age groups, people are showing strong support for Sanders, with many calling for him to be named the starting quarterback. His exciting playstyle, paired with his natural leadership and magnetic personality, has really struck a chord with the fan base. There's a noticeable buzz building around the idea of him leading the team, and fans are clearly invested in his journey. The hype isn't just about what he could become, it's about the energy and spark he's already bringing to the team. Fans want someone who can lead, inspire, and get results. And right now, Sanders looks like that guy. Even veteran quarterback Joe Flacco had high praise for him, saying Sanders puts a smile on his face, not just because of how he plays, but because of the positive vibe he brings to the locker room. It's obvious that Sanders is leaving a strong impression on everyone, from coaches and analysts to his teammates.
I don't know if it has an impact on much, but Shedeur's been great. I mean, he's a lot of fun to be around in those meeting rooms, and I think so far there's been, at least once in the meeting room that he's made me crack a smile, and that's what it's all about. He's a young guy trying to learn some football and come out here and practice well and do those things. And like I said, he's been a lot of fun. I mean, he's come up to me and.
As the quarterback race in Cleveland picks up steam, it's becoming more obvious that Dillon Gabriel is slipping out of serious contention for the starting role. He came into camp with high hopes, thanks in large part to his size and athleticism, but his recent showings have raised some red flags. Gabriel's inconsistency with deep throws, especially when under pressure, has exposed a major weakness that's tough to ignore. Even with his solid build and physical tools, Gabriel just hasn't shown the kind of arm strength and accuracy needed to compete at the NFL level. His inability to stay composed and deliver under pressure has only fueled more concern about whether he can really hold his own in this league. Meanwhile, Shedeur Sanders is quickly climbing the depth chart, not just because of his standout play, but also due to his physical strength and mental grit. Sanders has been throwing with confidence and precision, even under duress, and he's consistently making smart reads when it counts. His accuracy and decision-making have really popped during training camp. What's more impressive is Sanders' commitment. Even without getting most of the first-team reps, he's stayed locked in and kept a disciplined approach. That work ethic, paired with his upbeat personality and leadership qualities, has earned him the respect of both his coaches and teammates. He's become a favorite among the fans, not just for what he's doing on the field, but for the energy he brings to the team overall. With Gabriel continuing to struggle, Sanders is clearly setting himself apart, not only with performance, but with presence. So now the question goes out to Browns fans. With Gabriel trying to find his footing, and Sanders making a strong push with solid play and leadership, who do you see taking over as QB1? Are you holding out hope that Gabriel bounces back? Or do you think Sanders is the obvious choice to lead this team into the future? Let us know what you think and who you're backing.
Number 2 role still up for grabs. Are you guys still competing for that number 2 role?
Number 2 role?
Like number 2 string quarterback. The back.
Oh,
yeah.
Honestly, bro, I really don't look into that. I don't care. Whenever it's time for me to get out there and play, I'm going to play. Adversity, things is going to knock you down sometimes, but the main thing about it is you just got to push through it. There's a lot of people in this world that's going through stuff, but, I'm playing for a lot more than just me.
Yes.
And will he kind of be the backup?
Joe will start the game, Dillon will play second, Shedeur will play third.
Shedeur Sanders is done with the chatter. After head coach Kevin Stefanski slotted him as the third-string quarterback behind Dillon Gabriel, he didn't blink. No panic, no backpedaling, just steady confidence. He made it clear he won't get caught up in labels or outside noise. Say what you want, but when the stage is brightest, he intends to be brighter. Sanders isn't wasting energy on distractions. He's locked in, focused, and ready to let his play speak for itself the moment he steps on the field.
Whenever it's time for me to get out there and play, I'm going to play. Whenever it's time for the lights to come on, I'm going to do my thing. I'm not concerned about when it is. I'm not concerned about, how many reps I'm getting at this point is what it is. Because I know when the lights come on, when everything go on, when the pressure's on, you know who I am.
Shedeur Sanders isn't losing sleep over Kevin Stefanski's depth chart or the situation around it. He's certain that when his number is called, The film will force a second look at every assumption. Practice rotations and outside noise aren't his focus. He trusts his preparation and what he brings to the position. The equation is simple. When the pressure is real and the lights are hot, he'll answer it and quiet the doubts. He's not chasing validation anywhere else. The field is where he'll do his talking. This isn't just a solo climb for him either. He views his supporters as part of the mission, not spectators on the sideline. He's navigated stretches like this before and found a way through, and that same mindset drives him now. Every window that opens, he plans to seize. The message doesn't change. The work never stopped, the standard hasn't moved, and he's ready to prove it again the moment opportunity meets preparation.
The main thing about it is you just gotta push through it. There's a lot of people in this world that's going through stuff, but I'm playing for a lot more than just me, so regardless of pain, that's always how I've been, even in college, so in high school and everything from when I was young. Regardless of physically, if I don't feel my best, I still gotta go out there and execute with no excuses.
Since landing in Cleveland, Shedeur Sanders says his perspective has shifted. Simply lacing up for practice each day feels like a gift he used to imagine, not live. He's embracing patience, fully prepared to wait his turn, and when that window opens, he intends to sprint through it. Until then, the plan is simple. Stack work, refine the details, and be over-prepared when the call comes. To critics, he doesn't frame this chapter as a setback at all. It's the runway. This is time to tighten footwork, sharpen reads, and stay mentally locked in for what's next. He's clear that when the moment arrives, he'll put the whole toolkit on display and let the tape answer the questions. The focus hasn't wavered, the workload hasn't eased, and the standard hasn't moved. When opportunity meets preparation, he intends to show exactly who he is and what he can do.
I would say I learned life in a different perspective, and that's why I come here. I'm happy. I always got good energy because, I'm blessed to come out here.
And he's backing it up. In his latest practice, Shedeur Sanders showed exactly what cooking looks like. He came out a touch sluggish while shaking off the last of the injury effects, then locked into rhythm. By the end, one throw stole the entire session, an eye-catching rip that reminded everyone he's trending back to full form. That single play said more than a soundbite ever could. It wasn't just 6 points. It was a snapshot of poise, placement, and field vision. The way he worked through the look, trusted his mechanics, and delivered on time matched the confidence he's been voicing. It was the kind of ball that makes coaches pause, teammates lean in, and critics pump the brakes. Sanders addressed Dylan Gabriel's recent comments with calm and maturity. Even after Gabriel clarified they weren't aimed directly at him, Shedeur said he didn't spend a second dwelling on it. He believes God gives him the steadiness to stay grounded and avoid reacting to every headline. The noise is irrelevant. His focus stays the same. Whatever's said, so be it. Still, his posture told you he understood the subtext. He carried himself like someone who knew the message had him in mind, and he turned it into quiet fuel. The composure wasn't about pretending nothing happened. It was about showing he's bigger than the back and forth. He knows the real answer won't come from a podium. It'll come when he steps between the lines and lets the tape speak.
Honestly, I don't even think about nothing. I don't think about anything. If it's not words or anything, at this point, it can't do anything to me. I know, the God put the ability and the power within me to not even think about nobody else's comments, not care. It is what it is. I spoke with him. He said, nah, bro, that wasn't. He said, that wasn't. He told me on the plane. He came up. He was like, nah, bro, that wasn't at you. I see how they trying to spin. I'm like, oh, all right. I'm not tripping, regardless of whatever it was.
He's right to ignore most of it. Not every take deserves oxygen. There will always be bandwagon critics who pile on when things look rough and pivot the second momentum flips. The same voices throwing shots now will rush to celebrate him once he delivers. And you can bet Colin Cowherd will be near the front of that line. He's been all in on the skepticism around Shedeur Sanders lately, using every opening to question him. Cowherd praised Kevin Stefanski for elevating Dylan Gabriel to quarterback 2 and sliding Shedeur to 3rd, calling it the smart, low-risk move and proof of Stefanski's top-tier instincts. But it's hard to miss how quickly Cowherd writes Shedeur off, as if he's eager to see a miss before the kid gets a fair runway. Cowherd didn't stop there. He mocked Shedeur and his supporters, pointing out that several franchises were searching for starters and many more needed steady backups, and none chose him. He hammered the draft optics too. Dillon Gabriel in the 3rd round versus Shedeur in the 5th, framing that as the league's verdict. In his telling, the message is already settled. Shedeur's backers may have shrugged at that before, but, as Cowherd puts it, the numbers make the case.
And many of us believe Jimmy Haslam, the owner of the Browns, is the one that nudged the front office into drafting him. So the Browns drafted Dillon Gabriel 2 rounds before. So you can run to your Reddit board and dogpound.com and say it's a conspiracy, but the whole league told you he's a 5th-round quarterback. And the Browns are telling you, Kevin Stefanski, who won 11 games in 2023 with nonsense in a division with the Ravens, in the AFC.
Shedeur Sanders' time in Cleveland is turning into a story of resilience, focus, and quiet resolve. Even as the 3rd-string quarterback behind Dillon Gabriel, he hasn't let rankings or outside opinions throw him off course. From day one, he's kept his eyes on the bigger picture, steady growth, daily preparation, and being ready the second his opportunity arrives. Every critique is fuel, not a verdict, and he's using it to sharpen his game. His recent work on the field backs that up. Coming off injury, he settled in quickly and found his rhythm, capping practice with a pinpoint touchdown that stood out as the day's highlight. The timing, placement, and poise on that throw reflected the same confidence he's been preaching, reading the look, trusting his mechanics, and executing cleanly. It's the kind of rep that gets a coach's attention, earns teammates' trust, and makes skeptics pause. Sanders' maturity shows in how he handles chatter from teammates, rivals, and the media. Whether responding to Dillon Gabriel's comments or brushing off negative noise, he stays grounded, crediting faith and focus for keeping him steady. He knows the talk is part of the job, and he's committed to letting the film speak louder than any quote. Meanwhile, critics like Colin Cowherd have leaned into the doubts, pointing to draft status, Gabriel in the 3rd round, Shedeur in the 5th, and the lack of immediate interest from teams as proof the league has already made up its mind. Sanders isn't letting that define him. He understands success isn't about early labels. It's about persistence, preparation, and performance when it counts. As he keeps stacking work and embracing each rep, it's clear he's preparing for the moment his potential becomes undeniable. The road may be tough, but his discipline and mindset suggest he's more than capable of rising above doubt and making his mark in the NFL. What's your read on Shedeur Sanders' approach so far? Do you think his patience and focus will pay off once he gets real snaps? And how much do takes like Colin Cowherd's actually impact a young quarterback? Do they hinder, or do they add fuel?
But if you're the National Football League, okay, clearly it's not about talent anymore. It's about something else. And I'm going to tell you, I spent a large amount of the last 24 hours thinking about nothing more than I was thinking about collusion.
The $50 million robbery of Shedeur Sanders. Because that's what I just witnessed. Everywhere we've seen, everything we've seen, everybody that has seen him play said he is the 1 or 2 in this draft. I love Cleveland picking this kid.
The NFL draft is usually a time of celebration, a moment when dreams come true and talent gets recognized. But in the spring of 2025, that dream took a sharp turn for Shedeur Sanders. Instead of a milestone, it became a nightmare. One that might lead to one of the biggest lawsuits the NFL has faced in years. Shedeur, the Colorado Buffaloes quarterback and son of Hall of Famer Deion Sanders, was once expected to be a top 10 draft pick. But instead, he slid all the way down to the 5th round, pick number 144, by the Cleveland Browns. Now, quiet speculation has grown into loud conversations. Reports say the Sanders family is getting ready to take legal action against the NFL and several team owners, accusing them of collusion, defamation, and causing long-term financial harm. And the more you look into it, the more complicated it seems. From the outside, Shadeur's sudden drop in the draft doesn't add up.
What we're looking at is a convergence of a lot of history falling into one weekend. There's a history of the NFL and their ideas about protecting the shield and what they feel like. There's histories of the Sanders, history of the quarterback, which makes this really complicated and pretty much impossible to find one specific answer about why Sanders fell. He was probably already a fringe first-round pick, so some of the mock drafts were wrong. There's probably some owners out there who wanted to humble him and Sanders, and then there's just the talent that was there. So I'm not, it's okay, I think, to say we don't know what the specific answer is. What I do know, though, and I know it's maybe a little bit of a tangent, but I feel like it's important to say, I want to say this to folks on the internet and folks who are paying attention. This is not the Colin Kaepernick situation. This is important to know. Colin Kaepernick was absolutely blackballed from the league for standing up for folks' rights. This is not what Shedeur Sanders went to. He was embarrassed for 48 hours in the draft, and he ended up going to a Browns team where he still could possibly be a starter on that team because they managed to have half of Wu-Tang Clan's worth of bad quarterbacks, and he can still work his way up to a starter. So this is not the same situation. His career can still end up being okay.
Shedeur Sanders led the entire NCAA in completion percentage with an impressive 74.1%, broke several school records, and was right at the center of what many called the most talked about college football storyline in the last 20 years. With months of hype suggesting he wouldn't fall past the early second round, the expectation was clear. But instead, he had to sit through 3 painfully long days. Then came pick number 144, a moment that quickly went viral for all the wrong reasons. The cameras at his private draft party cut away. The champagne never even got opened. The room went completely silent. Deion Sanders didn't hold back afterward. According to those close to him, he was furious, allegedly saying, "This league just blackballed my son." At first, it sounded like a heartbroken father speaking out, but not long after, the leak started.
Because how in the hell does 32 teams in the National Football League pass on a quarterback that was universally recognized as one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the country entering this draft, and 32 teams passed on him? Not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 different times they passed on him. How the hell does that happen? 4 rounds. It doesn't happen to a quarterback. We've never seen anything like this before. We've seen guys drop because of injuries. We've seen guys drop because of off-field issues, but we've never seen a quarterback projected to be a top 20 pick, universally recognized as one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the draft, projected to be a first rounder, in all likelihood a safe bet of a late first rounder, and drop literally to the 5th round. We haven't seen anything like that.
So a lot of times when you go to these combine meetings, teams give you things to challenge you. Teams will have a player's worst plays ready for him, and they'll show him his worst plays and say, "Hey, why don't you explain them?" And Shedeur apparently didn't take to it well. And at one point, one of the few teams that actually was interested in him said, "Well, what do you make of this really bad play?" And Shedeur said, "Maybe I'm not the guy for you." That's not the answer. Another moment. What they do during the film and the combine and the meetings is teams will install mistakes intentionally planted in the install, and they want you to catch them. Shedeur didn't, and when a coach called him out, once again, it didn't sit well. It's like, bro, there's not many teams needing quarterbacks, especially since Pittsburgh appears to have a deal with Aaron Rodgers and Tennessee's getting Cam Ward. So you're down to the Giants, who were not interested at all, and Cleveland, who traded out of that 2 spot because clearly they were looking for next year's class like the Rams are.
Based on internal messages uncovered by a private investigator working with Shedeur Sanders' legal team, messages that haven't been made public yet but are currently being looked into by several independent news outlets, it looks like a few NFL team owners may have raised red flags about the media frenzy and the branding baggage tied to Shedeur. Even more concerning, there are reported claims that some team ownership groups were having behind-the-scenes talks, quietly advising each other to steer clear of drafting Shedeur unless they absolutely had no choice. People close to the Sanders camp say these private conversations even mentioned things Deion said back during Super Bowl week. Those blunt interviews where Coach Prime made it clear they would call the shots and wouldn't play for certain teams. Basically, they were following the same playbook Eli Manning used.
Will you step in Eli Manning like, Deion Sanders like, to the point where like you told him, hey man, I ain't taking that psych test with the Giants. I followed you after that. I said I wasn't taking it either. Will you step in and do some of that if it's the wrong organization and say he ain't going there?
Yeah, but I'm not going to do it publicly. I'll do it privately.
This time around, though, the league supposedly answered with a wall of silence and behind-the-scenes sabotage. According to insiders, the upcoming lawsuit is expected to claim that the NFL worked together to hurt Shadeur's draft stock, not because of his skills, but because of how things looked in the media, internal politics, and bruised egos.
If they played the cards and picked him up in the 5th round, but I surely would like to know how they knew he would still be there in the 5th round. I've been on that stage for years and years and years. I've never seen them position the cameras in position, give forewarning about who's about to be drafted. I wonder if Cleveland got a call from somebody in the NFL saying, we got to draft this kid. You just robbed this young man of $50 million. And it wasn't on his playing ability. Wow. Shame on you.
Primetime Deion Sanders' natural bravado, coupled with that of his son. They say that the whole interview process wasn't that impressive when he showed up at the NFL scouting combine and refused to work out. That hurt him. The interview process while he was there hurt him, etc., etc. You know what, y'all? I get it. It makes perfect damn sense if he's drafted in the 2nd round. It's the fact that he fell to 5th that's alarming.
After the draft, analysts on Fox Sports tried to make sense of the slide. Some said Shedeur wasn't a once-in-a-generation type of player. Others questioned his intangibles or pointed to the so-called baggage he brought with him. But instead of cooling things down, those comments only added fuel to the fire for Sanders' legal team. They're asking, how does a quarterback with a higher completion percentage than the #1 overall pick fall more than 130 spots? Why did draft experts rate him so highly, yet not one NFL GM publicly pushed back when he slid? From the Sanders camp's point of view, this wasn't just a case of a poor team fit. It looked more like a deliberate effort to send a clear message. Players don't get to control their future. That power belongs to the league. And nothing seemed to capture that message more clearly than Colin Cowherd's widely shared line: "Nobody wants a celebrity backup quarterback." According to sources, that quote is already being looked at closely by attorneys and has shown up in early versions of the legal filing. To them, it's more than just a jab. It's part of the case.